An oyster takes a grain of sand, and it builds layer after layer after layer of calcite over it until it becomes a beautiful pearl. In the same way, we take our emotional hurts and nurse them over and over again by what I call running the old movie over and over in our minds. If we want to be free from our hurts, if we want to get out of them, then it's time to go beyond them. One of the reasons women create cysts and tumors in the uterus is through what I call the he done me wrong syndrome. The genitals represent either the most masculine part of the body, the masculine principle, or the most feminine part of the body, the feminine principle. When people have emotional episodes, usually in relationships, they take it to one of those areas. With women, they may take it to their female organs, their most feminine part, and nurse the hurt until it becomes a cyst or tumor. Since resentment is buried deeply inside us, we may have to do a lot of work to dissolve it. I received a letter from a woman who was working on her third cancer tumor. She still had not dissolved the resentment pattern and kept creating new tumors in her body. I could tell she felt very self-righteous about her bitterness. It was easier for her to let the doctor remove the latest tumor than to work on forgiveness. It would have been good if she had been able to do both. Doctors are good at removing growths. Only we can keep them from reappearing. Sometimes we would rather die than change our patterns, and we do. I have noticed that many people would rather die than change their eating habits, and they do. This is very disturbing when it happens to someone we love and we are aware of alternative choices they could make. No matter what choices we make, they are always right for us, and there is no blame, even if we leave the planet. We will all leave the planet in time, and we will all find a way to do it at the right time for us. Again, we don't have to blame ourselves for failing or doing it wrong. We don't have to feel guilty. There is no blame. No one does it wrong. A person does the best he or she knows how to do with the understanding and awareness that is available. Remember, we all have the power within us, and we all come here to learn certain lessons. Our higher selves know our destiny in this lifetime and what we must learn in order to move forward in our evolutionary process. There is never any wrong way. There just is. We are all on an endless journey through eternity, and we have lifetime after lifetime. What we don't work out in this life, I believe we will work out in another. Suppressed feelings lead to depression. Depression is anger turned inward. It is also anger that you feel you do not have a right to have. For instance, you may feel it's not okay to be angry at your parent, or spouse, or employer, or best friend, and yet you are angry, and you feel stuck. That anger becomes depression. Far too many people today suffer from depression, even chronic depression. By the time we feel that depressed, it's very difficult to get out of it. It feels so hopeless that it becomes an effort to do anything. I don't care how spiritual you are. You have got to wash your dishes every now and then. You can't let the sink pile up with dirty dishes and say, "Oh, I'm metaphysical." The same with your feelings. If you want to have a mind that flows freely, then clean up your inner mental dirty dishes. One of the best ways is to give yourself permission to express some of your anger so that you won't have to stay so depressed. There are now therapists that specialize in anger releasing. Having a session or two with one of them could be most helpful. It's my personal opinion that we all need to beat the bed once a week, whether we feel angry or not. There are some therapies that encourage you to get into your anger. However, I think that they often keep you immersed in the anger process too long. Anger, like any emotion that surfaces, lasts only a few minutes. Babies move in and out of their emotions very quickly. It is our reaction to the emotion that causes us to hold and repress it. Author Elizabeth Kubler-Ross uses a wonderful exercise in her seminars, which she calls externalization. She has you take a piece of rubber hose and some old phone books, and you beat them over and over again, letting all sorts of emotions emerge. When you're releasing anger, it's okay to be embarrassed about it, especially if it was against your family rules to get angry. It will be embarrassing the first time you do it, but when you get into it, it can be such fun and very powerful. God is not going to hate you for being angry. Once you have released some of this old anger, you will be able to see your situation in a new light and find new solutions. Another one of the suggestions I would make for a person who is depressed is to work with a good nutritionist and really get your diet cleaned up. It's amazing how that can help the mind. People who are depressed often eat very poorly, which adds to the problem. We all want to make the best choices so that the food we are taking in is good for our body. Also, many times we find there is a chemical imbalance in the body that is further aggravated by the intake of medication of some sort. Now, rebirthing is another wonderful process for releasing your feelings because it goes beyond the intellect. If you have never had a rebirthing session, I recommend that you try one. It has been very helpful for many people. It's a breathing modality that helps you connect with old issues so that you can release them in a positive way. Some rebirthers have you repeat your affirmations as you're going through the process. Then there is bodywork, such as Rolfing, a process of deep connective tissue manipulation developed by Ida Rolf, or Heller work or Traeger work. They are all excellent ways to release restrictive patterns in the body. Different processes work differently for each person. One process may be good for one, yet not for another. We can only find what is best for us by trying different avenues. Self-help sections in bookstores are excellent places to read about different alternatives. Health food stores often have bulletin boards that list meetings and classes. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Fear is not having trust. Fear is rampant on the planet. You can see and hear about it in the news every day in the form of wars and murders and greed and more. Fear is a lack of trust in ourselves. Because of that, we don't trust life. We don't trust that we are being taken care of on a higher level, so we feel we must control everything from the physical level. Obviously, we're going to feel fear because we can't control everything in our lives. Trust is what we learn when we want to overcome our fears. It's called taking the leap of faith. Trust in the power within that is connected to universal intelligence. Trust in that which is invisible instead of trusting only in the physical material world. I'm not saying that we do nothing, yet if we have trust, we can go through life much easier. If you recall what I said earlier, I believe that everything I need to know is revealed to me. I trust that I'm being taken care of, even though I am not physically in control of everything that's happening around me. When a fearful thought comes up, it is really trying to protect you. I suggest you say to the fear, I know you want to protect me. I appreciate that you want to help me, and I thank you. Acknowledge the fearful thought. It's there to take care of you. When you become physically frightened, your adrenaline pumps through your body to protect you from danger. It's the same with the fear you manufacture in your mind. Observe your fears and recognize that you are not them. Think of fear the way you view images on a movie screen. What you see on the screen is really not there. The moving pictures are just frames of celluloid, and they change and disappear very rapidly. Our fears will come and go as rapidly as those pictures, unless we insist on holding on to them. Fear is a limitation of our minds. People have so much fear about getting sick or old or about becoming homeless or whatever. Anger is fear that becomes a defense mechanism. It protects you, and yet it would be so much more powerful for you to do affirmations so you can stop recreating fearful situations in your mind and love yourself through the fear. Again, nothing comes from outside of us. We are at the center of everything that happens in our lives. Everything is inside. Every experience, every relationship is a mirror of a mental pattern that we have inside us. Fear is the opposite of love. The more we are willing to love and trust who we are, the more we attract these qualities to ourselves. When we are on a streak of really being frightened or upset or worried or not liking ourselves, isn't it amazing how everything goes wrong in our lives? One thing after another. It seems it will never stop. Well, it is the same when we really love ourselves. Everything starts to go on a winning streak, and we get the green lights in the parking places. All of the things that make life so wonderful, the big and the little. We get up in the morning and the day flows beautifully. Love yourself so that you can take care of yourself. Do everything you can to strengthen your heart, your body, and your mind. Turn to the power within you. Find a good spiritual connection and really work on maintaining it. If you are feeling threatened or fearful, consciously breathe. We often hold our breath when we are frightened, so take a few deep breaths. Breathing opens the space inside you that is your power. It straightens your spine, it opens your chest, and gives your heart room to expand. By breathing, you begin to drop the barriers and open up. You expand rather than contract. Your love flows. You could say, I am one with the power that created me. I am safe and all is well in my world. Cleaning up our addictions. One of the primary ways we mask our fear is through addictions. Addictions suppress the emotions so that we don't feel. However, there are many kinds of addictions besides the chemical ones. There are also what I call pattern addictions, patterns we adopt to keep ourselves from being present in our lives. If we don't want to deal with what's in front of us, or if we don't want to be where we are, we have a pattern that keeps us out of touch with our lives. For some people, it's a food addiction or a chemical addiction. There may be a genetic disposition for alcoholism, however. The choice to stay sick is always an individual one. So often when we talk about something being hereditary, it is really the little child's acceptance of the parents' ways of handling fear. For others, there are emotional addictions. You can be addicted to finding fault in people. No matter what happens, you will always find someone to blame. It's their fault, they did it to me. Maybe you are addicted to running up bills. There are many of you addicted to being in debt. You do everything you can to keep yourself head over heels in debt. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the amount of money you have. You can be addicted to rejection. Everywhere you go, you attract others who reject you. You will find them. However, the rejection on the outside is a reflection of your own inner rejection. If you don't reject yourself, nobody else will either. Or if they do, it certainly won't matter to you. Ask yourself, what am I not accepting about myself? There are plenty of people addicted to illness. They are always catching something or worrying about getting sick. They seem to belong to the illness of the month club. or illness of the week. If you're going to be addicted to anything, why not be addicted to loving yourself? You can be addicted to doing positive affirmations or doing something that is supportive of you. Compulsive overeating. I receive a lot of letters from people with weight problems. They go on diets that last 2 or 3 days or weeks, and then they stop. They feel guilty about falling off their diets. And instead of recognizing that they did what they could at the time, they get angry at themselves and feel guilty. Then to punish themselves, because guilt always seeks punishment, they go out and eat foods that are not good for their bodies. If they could acknowledge that for the 2 weeks that they followed a particular regime, they were doing something wonderful for their bodies, and stop laying guilt trips on themselves, they would begin to break the pattern. They could also begin to say, I used to have a problem with weight. Now I allow myself to be the perfect weight for me, and the pattern would start to shift inside. Yet we don't want to concentrate on the food issue too much, for that is not where the problem lies. Overeating has always meant a need for protection. When you feel insecure or frightened, you pad yourself with a layer of safety. Weight has nothing to do with food. Most of you spend a lifetime being angry at yourself for being fat. What a waste of energy. Instead, realize there is something going on in your life that is making you feel unsafe and insecure. It could be your work, your spouse, your sexuality, or your life in general, or early belief patterns. If you are overweight, put the food weight issue aside and work on the pattern that says, I need protection because I'm insecure. It's amazing how our cells respond to our mental patterns. When the need for protection is gone, or when we start feeling secure, the fat will melt off. I have noticed in my own life that when I'm not feeling safe, I will gain some weight. When my life is going so fast and I'm doing so much and I'm spreading myself all over the place, I feel a need for protection, a need for security. So I say, okay, Louise, it's time to work on safety. I want you to really know that you are safe and it's okay, and you can do all this stuff, and you can be at all these places, and you can have all that's happening right now, and you are safe, and I love you. When I feel secure again, the weight melts away. Weight is only the outer effect of a fear that is inside you. When you look in the mirror and see the fat person staring back, remember that you are looking at the result of your old thinking. When you start to change your thinking, you are planting a seed for what will become true for you. What you choose to think today will create your new figure tomorrow. One of the best books on releasing excess weight is The Only Diet There Is by Sandra Ray. It's all about dieting from negative thinking, and she shows you step by step how to do it. Self-help groups. Self-help groups have become the new social form. I see this as a very positive move. These programs do tremendous good. People with similar problems getting together, not to whine and complain, but to find ways to work through these issues and improve the quality of their lives. There is now a group for almost every problem you can think of. Many of them are listed in the phone book under Community Services in the front of your yellow pages. I know you can find one that is right for you. Many churches now hold group meetings. You could even go to the local health food store, one of my favorites, and see what is listed on their bulletin board. If you are serious about changing your life, you will find the way. The 12-step programs are everywhere. 12-step programs have been around for some time, and they have developed a format that really works and brings about wonderful results. Their Al-Anon program for people who live with or were raised by addicted people is one of the best groups for all sorts of people. Feelings are our inner gauge. When growing up in a troubled or dysfunctional family, we learn to avoid conflict whenever possible, and this results in the denial of our feelings. We often do not trust others to meet our needs, so we don't even ask for help. We are convinced that we must be strong enough to handle things ourselves. The only problem is that we fail to be in touch with our own feelings. Feelings are our most helpful link to our relationship with ourselves, others, and the world around us, and they are an indication of what's working or not working in our lives. Shutting them off only leads to more complex problems and physical illnesses. What you can feel, you can heal. If you don't allow yourself to feel what is going on inside of you, you won't know where to begin the healing process. On the other hand, many of us seem to go through life always feeling guilty or jealous or fearful or sad. We develop habit patterns that keep repeating the same experiences that we say we don't want to have. If you keep feeling angry or sad or fearful or jealous and don't get in touch with the underlying cause, you will continue to create more anger, sad, fear, etc. When we stop feeling like victims, we are able to take our power back. We must be willing to learn the lesson so the problem can disappear. When we trust the process of life and our spiritual connection with the universe, we can dissolve our angers and fears as soon as they appear. We can trust in life and know that everything is happening in divine right order and in the perfect time-space sequence. Chapter 7. Moving beyond the pain. We are far more than our bodies and personalities. The inner spirit is always beautiful and lovable, no matter how our outer appearances may change. The pain of death. It's wonderful to be positive. It's also wonderful to acknowledge what you are feeling. Nature has given you feelings to get you through certain experiences, and to deny them causes more pain. Remember, death is not a failure. Everyone dies. It's part of the process of life. When someone you love dies, the mourning process takes at least a year. So give yourself that space. It's difficult to have to go through all the holidays and seasons, Valentine's Day, your birthday, your anniversary, Christmas, etc. So be very gentle with yourself and let yourself grieve. There are no rules, so don't make any for yourself. It's also okay to get angry and have hysterics when someone dies. You can't pretend it doesn't hurt. You want to give your feelings an outlet. Let yourself cry. Look in the mirror and scream, "It isn't fair," or whatever you feel inside. Again, let it out. Otherwise, you will create problems for your body. You want to take care of yourself the best you can, and I know it's not always easy. Those of us who have been working with people with AIDS find that the grieving process becomes ongoing. It's the same as the grieving process in wartime. There are too many onslaughts to the emotional nervous system to handle. Many times I reach out to special friends and dissolve into hysterics when it all becomes too much. It was much easier when my mother died. I felt the natural completion of her 91-year cycle. Though I grieved, I had no anger or rage at injustice or untimeliness. Wars and epidemics bring up tremendous frustration at the seeming unfairness of it all. Although grieving takes time, sometimes you feel like you're in a bottomless pit. If you are still grieving after a few years, then you are wallowing in it. it becomes an addiction. You need to forgive and release the other person and yourself. Remember, we don't lose anyone when they die because we never owned them in the first place. If you are having a difficult time letting go, there are several things you can do. First of all, I suggest you do some meditations with the person who is gone. No matter what he or she thought or did while they were alive, when they leave the planet, a veil lifts and they see life very clearly. So they no longer have the fears and the limiting beliefs that they had when they were here. If you are grieving a lot, they would probably tell you not to worry because all is well. In your meditations, ask the person for help to get you through this period and tell them that you love them. Don't judge yourself for not being with the person or doing enough for the person while they were alive. That's just adding guilt to your grief. Some of you use this time as an excuse for not getting on with your own life. Some of you would like to leave the planet too. Or, for some of you, the death of someone you know and love brings up your own fear of death. Use this time to do inner work on yourself so you can release some of your own stuff. A lot of sadness comes to the surface upon the death of a loved one. Let yourself feel the sadness. You need to get to a point where you feel safe enough to let the old pains come up. If you would allow yourself 2 or 3 days of crying, much of the sadness and guilt would disappear. If you need to, find a therapist or a group to help you feel safe enough so that you can release the emotions. Another suggestion is to say affirmations like, "I love you and I set you free. You are free and I am free." One woman was having a very difficult time letting go of the anger she felt towards an aunt who was very ill. She was terrified that her aunt would pass away and she would not be able to communicate how she really felt about the past. She didn't want to speak with the aunt because she felt all choked up inside. I suggested to her that she work with a therapist, for one-on-one work can be so helpful. When we are stuck in any area, it is an act of love for ourselves to reach out for help. There are many types of therapists all over who are experienced in these situations. You don't need to go for a long time, just a short while, so that you can get through your difficult period. There are also many grief support groups. It might be helpful for you to join one because it would assist you as you go through the process. Understanding our pain. Many of us live from day to day with unrelieved pain. It may be a small part of our lives, or it may take up a large, unbearable portion of it. But what is pain? Most of us agree that it is something we would like to be free of. Let's look at what we can learn from it. Where does it come from? What is it trying to tell us? The dictionary defines pain as an unpleasant or distressing sensation due to bodily injury or disorder, as well as a mental or emotional suffering or torment. Since pain is an outgrowth of both mental and physical dis-ease, it is clear that both the mind and the body are susceptible to it. I recently saw a wonderful example as I watched 2 little girls playing in a park. The first child raised her hand to playfully slap her friend on the arm. Before she was able to connect, the other little girl said, "Ow!" And the first little girl looked at her and said, "Why did you say ow? I haven't even touched you yet." To which her friend quickly replied, "Well, I knew it was going to hurt." In this instant, the mental pain presumed the expected physical pain. Pain comes to us in many forms: a scratch, a bump, a bruise, dis-ease, uneasy sleep, a threat, a knotty feeling in your stomach, a numbing sensation in your arm or leg. Sometimes it hurts a lot, sometimes only a little, but we know it's there. In most cases, it's trying to tell us something. At times, the message is obvious. A sour stomach experienced during the work week, but not on the weekend, may indicate a need for an attitude change or for a job change. And many of us know the significance of the pain that occurs after a night of excessive drinking. Whatever the message, we must remember that the human body is a wonderfully constructed piece of machinery. It tells us if there are problems, but only if we are willing to listen. Unfortunately, many of us do not take or make the time to listen. Pain is actually one of the body's last resort messages to tell us that something is wrong in our lives. We are really off track somewhere. The body is always aspiring for optimum health, no matter what we do to it. However, if we abuse our bodies tremendously, we contribute to the conditions of our dis-ease. When we first feel pain, what do? We usually run to the medicine cabinet or to the drugstore, and we take a pill. In effect, we say to the body, "Shut up, I don't want to hear you." The body will quiet down for a little bit. Then the whisperings return, and this time a little louder. Maybe we go to the doctor for an injection or a prescription, or we do something else. But at some point we have to pay attention to what is going on, because we may have a full-blown dis-ease of some sort. Even at that point, some people still want to play victim and still don't listen. Others awaken to what's going on and are willing to make changes. It's okay. We all learn in different ways. The answers may be as simple as getting a good night's sleep, or not going out 7 nights a week, or not pushing yourself at work. Allow yourself to listen to your body because it does want to get well. Your body wants to be healthy, and you can cooperate with it. When I first feel pain or discomfort, I quiet myself. I trust that my higher power will let me know what needs to be changed in my life so that I can be free from this dis-ease. In these quiet times, I visualize the most perfect natural setting with my favorite flowers growing in abundance all around me. I can feel and smell the sweet warm air as it blows gently across my face, and I concentrate on relaxing every muscle in my body. When I feel that I have reached a state of complete relaxation, I simply ask my inner wisdom, how am I contributing to this problem? What is it that I need to know? What areas of my life are in need of change? Then I breathe and let the answers pour over me. The answers may not come at that moment, but I know that they will be revealed to me soon. I know that whatever changes are needed are the right ones for me, and that I will be completely safe no matter what unfolds before me. Sometimes you wonder how you can accomplish such changes. How will I live? What about the children? How will I pay my bills? Again, trust your higher power to show you the means to live a plentiful, pain-free life. I also suggest that you make changes one step at a time. Louise said, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step." One small step added to another can create significant major advancements. Once you go about making your changes, please remember that the pain does not necessarily disappear overnight, and yet it may. It has taken time for pain to surface. Therefore, it may take some time to recognize that it is no longer needed. Be gentle with yourself. Don't gauge your progress by someone else's. You are unique, and have your own way of handling your life. Put your trust in your higher self in order to free yourself of all physical and emotional pain. Forgiveness is the key to freedom. I often ask clients, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? We all have opinions on who was right and who was wrong according to our own perceptions, and we can all find ways to justify our feelings. We want to punish others for what they did to us. However, we are the ones running the story over and over in our own minds. It is foolish for us to punish ourselves in the present because someone hurt us in the past. To release the past, we want to be willing to forgive, even if we don't know how. Forgiveness means giving up our hurtful feelings and just letting the whole thing go. A state of non-forgiveness actually destroys something within ourselves. No matter what avenue of spirituality you follow, you will usually find that forgiveness is an enormous issue at any time, but most particularly when there is an illness. When we are ill, we really need to look around and see who it is we need to forgive. And usually the very person who we think we will never forgive is the one we need to forgive the most. Not forgiving someone else doesn't harm the other person in the slightest, but it plays havoc with us. The issues aren't theirs, the issues are ours. The grudges and hurts you feel have to do with forgiving yourself, not someone else. Affirm that you are totally willing to forgive everyone. I am willing to free myself from the past. I am willing to forgive all those who may ever have harmed me, and I forgive myself for having harmed others. If you think of anyone who may have harmed you in any way at any point in your life, bless that person with love and release them, and then dismiss the thought. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't forgiven the people who have hurt me. I would not want to punish myself today for what they did to me in the past. I'm not saying that it would be easy. It's just that now I can look back at that stuff and say, oh yes, that's something that happened. However, I don't live there anymore. And it is not the same as condoning their behavior. If you feel ripped off by another, know that nobody can take anything from you that is rightfully yours. If it belongs to you, it will return to you at the right time. If something doesn't come back to you, it wasn't meant to. You need to accept that and go on with your life. To become free, you need to get out of your self-righteous resentment and off your pity pot. I love this expression, which originated with Alcoholics Anonymous, because it is such a wonderful, accurate description. When you are sitting on your pity pot, you are this helpless person who has no power at all. In order to have power, you want to stand on your own 2 feet and take responsibility. Take a moment and close your eyes, if you can, and imagine a beautiful stream of water in front of you. Take the old painful experience, the hurt, and the unforgiveness, and put the whole incident in the stream. See it begin to dissolve and drift downstream until it totally dissipates and disappears. You can do this as often as you want. This is a time for compassion and healing. Go within and connect with that part of yourself that knows how to heal. You are incredibly capable. Be willing to go to new levels to find capabilities of which you were not aware, not just to cure dis-ease, but to truly heal yourself on all possible levels. to make yourself whole in the deepest sense of the word, to accept every part of yourself and every experience you have ever had, and to know that it is all part of the tapestry of your life this time around. I love Emmanuel's book. There is a passage in it which has a good message. The question to Emmanuel is, how do we experience painful circumstances without becoming embittered by them? And Emmanuel's reply is, by seeing them as lessons and not as retribution. Trust life, my friends. However far afield life seems to take you, this trip is necessary. You have come to traverse a wide terrain of experience in order to verify where truth lies and where your distortion is in that terrain. You will then be able to return to your home center, your soul self, refreshed and wiser. If only we could understand that all of our so-called problems are just opportunities for us to grow and to change, and that most of them come from the vibrations that we have been giving off. All we really need to do is change the way we think, be willing to dissolve the resentment, and be willing to forgive.